Hello everybody. I thought I'd make a quick video here to explain how to set up and use a Hub 75 video display wall or a Hub 75 sign, LED sign, depending what you're using it for. Hub 75 is the, I would say, standard for video wall panels like this. They come in various different sizes, shapes, resolutions. This one is a 4mm pitch panel, 32 by 64 pixels. You can chain multiple of these together to make a bigger one, a longer one, however you would like, but you have to set that up in the app correctly. On the back of the panel, you will see there are 3 plugs. There is one here, which is labelled in, if you can make that out. It is labelled in, which is your data in from the driver board. Then you have another identical one here, which is labelled out underneath this plastic bit, but you can't see that. This is where you would then take the cable out and you'd put that into your next panel. So if I want to put another one next to this, I would take the cable out of here and into the in port in the next one, like you would with a addressable LED. This one here is for power. VCC and ground are the markings next to it, which VCC is the positive and ground is negative. These run on 5 volts. This is the other part of the equation. This is the driver board. The one I have here is a WF1 driver board, I think made by Haidu. I think that's how you pronounce it. But this is what will basically draw the images on the screen. So the data comes out of here, it goes into this. These also run on 5 volts. I would recommend powering them via the terminals here. You can theoretically power it, I think, by the USB port, but I would not recommend doing that because these can draw a substantial amount of power and you could risk overloading the port quite substantially and damaging things, so I would advise using the terminals here. It is important to note as well with this, the output is not keyed here, so you have to make sure you get the connector on the right way round. If you don't get it the right way round, you will damage the driver and or the panel, so make sure you get it the correct way round to avoid risking of damaging things. And as I was saying, you will need a source of 5 volt. This is a random cage 5 volt supply I had knocking around. This one is a 5 amp one. As I said, these can draw a significant amount of power, so I would recommend getting a fairly large one. And if you have a very big array, you would want multiple supplies, each feeding a few panels. The supply from the driver board to the panels should not be referenced through the data cables. There will be a ground but no supply, usually. So you will have to use the power jack on the back of the panel to power the panel, and you can use different power supplies to power different panels in the same array. So you don't need a 500 amp power supply to power a huge wall. You can use, say, 50 10 amp ones. In order to set these up is very easy. You just plug it together, connect the 5 volts into here. This board will then output a Wi-Fi network which you will have to connect to with your phone, and you will need to install the app. If you scan the QR code, which is printed on the back of the driver, that will take you to the web page where you can get a link to download it for either iOS or Android, or you can just go onto the Play Store or App Store and search for LED art and download that app. Do that now. I'm going to set a screen recording up and I'll show you what to do next. So now you have the LED art app installed. When you open it up, you should see the thing on the screen recording, which will be somewhere here, which is no screen, new display. You will have to then power on your LED wall like this. There should be then it will show on the screen the version of firmware, and a test preloaded thing will display. It depends on the manufacturer what it says. This is just one I created because I was testing this beforehand. You will need to connect to the Wi-Fi network, which is being outputted by this. I'm going to do that right now, so I'm just going to cut the screen recording off. When I go into here, I connect to that. There we go. I am now connected. So what I will have to do is then press on New Display, and it will come up here as WF1 ED blah 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 64 by 32. That display, I then click Add. It will let me name it. It will come to screen 2 because I already added one, but I will call it screen 1. You can change this to whatever you would like. Next, and then that is, oops, there we go. You can then press sync to synchronize the time which is on your phone to the time stored on here. So I will press OK because the time is already synchronized, and it will bring you into this screen here, which is where you can then start to program your sign. This is the first screen it will show. So you can type whatever text you would like into here. I will just type in something like test page 1 and then click the enter button. You then can change this from display static to continuously move left, continuously move right, up, random, which I don't know why you'd want, move left. There's various different ones you can pick. Choose the one you'd like. If you go into the program tab here, you can set things like specific date, which I'm not really sure I'd want to do that, but you can. And you can set a border, so it's currently set to no border. You can scroll down, there's lots of different ones you can choose from. If you pick a random one, let's say go with that one, and then click the check arrow. If I then press send here, it will upload this, and you can see my panel has now changed to display that. It will show a success. You can then press return and come back to here. You can then press the back arrow and then press this button here called new program. You can then open it up and it will show you, if you press this plus button, you can then do various other things. So you can add timing, you can add an image, you can add the clock, which is a very useful one. So if you bring that up, it will then let you set everything up. The time zone you can specify, which is worth doing if you have issues. Sometimes daylight savings time can confuse it, but it should just follow whatever your system time is set to. You can then change the format, so you can change this, instead of saying the Chinese characters, you can set it to say the short day, the long day, or none. So I'll set that to none, check. I can then set it to display time as hours, minutes, seconds, hours, minutes, however you'd like to do it. I'll set it to hours and minutes. We can go check. The date, I'll set that. You can change it again to whatever format you'd like. I'll set that to no display. We see that here, and I can get rid of the text because we don't need that, so delete that area. If I go into here, I can again set a border. I can set the same one or a different one, so let's pick, say, this one. Go with that. I can then send this program and it will show the current time. This will be static. It will change dynamically as the time goes on, so if I left this it would update, and the module here has a battery in it, so it will remember the time even if you power it off and then power it back on again. It'll keep the time for a fairly long period. They're not 100% accurate, but you can log in and re-update the time every so often as you need to. If I then press return and we go back, you can see there are now two programs under screen 1, which is tricolour. Because this is an RGB display, you do get monochromatic ones as well. If I then select both of these and I press send, I can then choose the display I want to send it to. I press send, and it will show this, and then it will change to that. And you can add, I'm not sure if there's a limit, but you can add multiple different screens and it will cycle through them like this, doing different things. As you can see, you can then use this to say show the date, time, business name, opening hours, whatever you would like. You can change the colour of the text as well. So if we say go into here, you can press this button here and change the text to any colour you'd like there. Or you can change it to rainbow colour like this. So I can send that to show you. It will now come up as rainbow text. You can change the size here. You can change the speed, so if I turn it to say 17, that will slow the speed down, so it now scrolls more slowly. Or if I set it to fast and tense, let's say I set it to 1 fast, and I send that, it's now going far too fast. So you can change the scroll speed as well. You can set the background, you can set a picture as a background. So if I go into background and set that to random, I will slow this down so it is not annoying me. Back to 10, which is the default. And then if I send that, you will see it is now completely unreadable because of the background behind it. What I will do to show you what the background is, I will get rid of that text, I will put a space, check that, and then send it. And you can see now it is doing all sorts of various different animations on the screen, so you can use this just as a bit of display on the wall. You can also, if you like, if I go into here and then get border, select no border, check and upload that, it will just do the backgrounds on the screen like this. It will cycle through various different animations, different colours, all sorts of things. You can also specify different backgrounds you would like, so if there is a specific one you would prefer or a specific colour, you can choose whichever one you want. I should have said at the beginning, the whistling noise you can hear is as a result of this power supply not being particularly high quality. It's not any of this here, so if you get a better quality power supply, you will not have issues with the horrible screaming noise from the power supply. As I was saying, you can set basically as many different screens as you would like to show all sorts of different things. I will go over quickly how you can update the time if you need to. So if you scroll across to the next one, you will get the My Device page, which will allow you to update the Wi-Fi password. It will allow you to update the firmware, test the screen, set the brightness, all sorts of things like that. Up here is also where you can see the size of the screen, you can see the name. It says no grey because this is an RGB screen, it doesn't have a grey values in it. If you go into here, you can enter a name for the screen. It says the equipment status is in normal play. If you press time, it will let you set the time automatically to the system provided time. If you then press OK, it will say time setting successful. It's now updated the time on here. If you go into password settings, you can set the password to whatever you would like. You can change the name of the Wi-Fi thing that it will output. The default password on these is the number 8 times. I would highly recommend you change that and don't leave it as default to prevent people messing around with your sign. You can go into remote, which will allow you to do things. I don't really have a use for this, but it is a function that is there. If you then go into settings, this is where you can set various different things about the, again, it lets you change the password, it lets you set the colour mode, editing programs, you can set common phrases, that kind of thing. Overall, the app is fairly intuitive, and if you have a list of programs like this, and I'll add a third one, let's say set that to, again, clock, and we will change it to, say, yeah, let's go with the date. There. So if I come out of here, I can then send all three of these to that display. It will cycle through and show the time, the date, and it will hopefully not get stuck on this. The display time on this might be wrong. Yeah, see in there, it cycles through. So you can set the display time on here. It says hold. You can change this different time lengths on how long you would like it to show that on the screen. But you can select, say, I don't want to send that program, I just want to send those two. I can deselect it, uncheck the box, send, and it will now only show these two here, and it will not show the third one. So you can select which programs you would like. You are able to name the programs, I think. If you go into here, yes, you can put a name in the program so you know what they all are, and you can choose the one you would like on your screen whenever you would like it. That's basically how the app works. I say it's fairly self-explanatory, it's not all that complicated. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to now go in and I will explain a little bit about why it was I was saying maybe don't use your current phone for this. So 1 second while I set this up. So yes, as I was saying, the app is fairly self-explanatory. However, it is created by the manufacturer of the driver board here, which is fine. They are a Chinese company, obviously, and you will notice if you go into it on the Google Play Store, it does provide you a little bit of a warning that they may share information such as your location with third parties, and there is no way to request deletion of that as you would have under the GDPR regulations in, say, Europe or the UK, which is it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. So what I have done is I use an old phone, which is just for this. I use it for programming these signs, nothing else. It is not connected to the internet. It is just the only Wi-Fi network it has is this one. It has no other networks, nothing like that, so that nobody can, or it can't really phone home and send any information back. I don't think it will be doing any sort of evil spyware stuff, but you can never be too cautious with regards to your data, because once the horse is bolted, there's no point in closing the door. But yes, with that out of the way, I think, honestly, these are really quite neat little panels. I might get another one to make a bigger display, but I quite like these. I've been having fun messing with them. Very simple, user-friendly. I could see a lot of uses for these. As usual, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.